Hi guys, so this video is going to be about indices, just revising over the four laws and going over some examples. Um, First thing to know, some basic stuff as you guys can see in this corner. The difference between base and a power, obviously the power is the number on top in the corner. The base is what it's directly attached to. So in this case, the base is this little a and the power is the 2. So just make sure you keep that at the back of your mind, because when we do these, uh, apply these rules or the laws, you need to make sure that the base is the same. So the first rule is about multiplying numbers that have the same base and has a power. So in this case, you've got A4 times A3. When you're multiplying, you have to add the powers together. And, oh, sorry, did a multiplication sign by mistake. You add the powers together, so A4 plus 3 is A to the power of 7. Remember, you can only do it when the bases are the same. The second rule, similar situation, but when you're dividing, you subtract the powers instead. So A4 minus 3, which is A1. Remember, A1 can just be written simply as A. You don't have to put the 1 there. Another thing you need to keep in mind is when you're dividing, that's the same thing as a fraction. So you just, if you see a fraction, you apply the second rule. So make sure you keep that in mind. Just subtract the powers. The third rule is probably the easiest one, where anything to the power of 0 equals 1. So anything that the 0 is attached to, so the base that is attached to, this entire thing will become a 1. The fourth rule is when you've got brackets, you multiply the powers together. So A3 times 2, which is A6. The first rule is about adding, second rule, subtracting. The third rule, the entire thing becomes 1 when it's power 0. And the fourth rule is you multiply. Okay, so we're going to do some examples. What you guys can do is you can pause the video, do the example yourself, and then see how I work it out and see if you get the same answer. Otherwise, you can just follow along as I go. So this one, what you need to do first is you look at the numbers and you multiply the numbers first. So remember, if there's no number in front of it, it's technically a 1. So you do 4 times 3 times 1, which is 12. Then you look at each letter, so the numerals. So we look at A first. There are two A's. And remember, when we're multiplying, we add the powers. So 5 plus 4 is 9. Then look at the next letter, which is C. We've got C3 here, C4, and C5. So 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 3 is 12. So this is in the simplest form. Hopefully that makes sense. Question 2, so we've been given a fraction. So we know if we see a fraction, we need to apply the second rule. Same situation, when you've got numbers involved, you divide the numbers first. So what this means is 18 divided by 9, you write 2. Then you look at each letter. So one thing you need to remember is you see some of the questions that I get asked often is, do I put at the top as a numerator or at the denominator at the bottom? So first you need to look at where the bigger power is. So between this J5 and J2, obviously this J5 has a bigger power, therefore it is in the numerator, so you leave it as a numerator at the top. Remember, when we have a fraction, we're dividing, which means we subtract. So 5 minus 3, and then K, we've got 3, and this is technically a 1, when nothing's there, it is a 1. Again, we subtract, and we know that 3 is bigger, so we're going to leave it at the top. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So that is my answer there. Alright, question 3 is a combination of the laws 1 and 2. So there are multiple ways you can do it. In this question, I'm going to use the first law and then I'm going to use the second law. So I'm going to multiply first. So look at the numbers first. 20 times 2 is 40. Then I'm going to look at the letters A6 and A3. So remember when we're multiplying, we add the powers together. So 6 plus 3 is 9 over A2. So this isn't fully simplified yet because now we need to look at the letters and divide. So I'm going to leave the 40 as it is because there aren't any numbers at the bottom. Then we've got A9 and A2. A9 is obviously the larger one. The 9 is larger than the 2, so it's going to be at the top. And then we subtract the 9 minus 2 is 7. Okay. Question 4. So question 4 is applying rule 1 and 3 because now there are power to the zeros here. So again, what I'll do first is I'll multiply. So 15, there aren't any numbers, so I'm going to leave 15 as it is. Then we look at the letters. What I'll do actually first is whenever I see anything to the power of 0, I'm going to change it into a 1. So C to the power of 0 becomes a 1, and A to the power of 0 also becomes a 1. So now I just multiply the numbers. 15 times 1 times 1 is 15, A6. Okay, question 5. So this is rule number 4, when there's brackets and there's a power on the outside. So what you need to remember is you need to multiply everything on the inside. So this will become 3 to the power of 2. A, 3 times 2 is 6. And then C, 8 times 2 is 16. This isn't in its simplest form. So you need to make sure that this 3 to the power 2 is written as 9 because 3 times 3 is 9. A6, C16. That is your final answer. This is half correct, but to get the final full marks, you need to simplify the 3 squared into 9. Last question. So what I'll do first is I'll get rid of the brackets. So I'll write 2, 6 times 3 is 18, divided by 2, 7. So you don't have to go 2 divided by 2 equals 1. You leave the base as it is. So you write 2 and then you mainly focus on the powers. So because we're dividing, we subtract. 18 minus 7 is 11. If the question asks you to evaluate, you have to tell me what 2 to the power of 11 actually equals. So you have to write it like that. If it asks you to simplify, for example, if they go simplify 2 times 4 times A times A times B times B, simplify, you multiply the numbers, 8, and then you get A, there are 2 A's, and B, like that. So that's my final answer, simplify in index form, or simplify and evaluate. Especially when you're doing fractions, you need to make sure that it is in the simplest form. If they ask you for index form, so for example, what that means is, well, this is technically in index form because I've written in the powers. This is known as the expanded form. So that's what that means. So make sure you read the question carefully. If it says evaluate, give me the full number. And if it's simplify, make sure it's in the simplest form as you can possibly go. Alright, thanks guys. Hopefully this video helps you, and please make sure you ask any questions if you have any before the test. See you later.